You've probably solved the same problem 100 times in your head. The strange part is, nothing has happened yet. Your mind keeps preparing for a future that hasn't even arrived. It feels like preparation, but it slowly becomes a prison. Why do we overthink? Overthinking rarely begins with a crisis. It usually begins with one tiny doubt you can't ignore. The moment uncertainty appears, your brain treats it like a problem that must be solved immediately. That's when your imagination quietly takes over, long before reality has a chance to. The scary part isn't what might happen. It's how real your imagination can make it feel. Your body reacts as if the danger is already here, even though nothing has happened. By then, you know you aren't responding to reality anymore. You're responding to possibilities. Your brain has a favorite question. What if? And once it starts asking, it's hard to make it stop. The problem is, your mind never asks just one what if. Every possible outcome feels equally important, even the ones that will never happen. That's why overthinking feels useful, even when it isn't helping at all. You mistake endless thinking for progress, because both of them feel like movement. But thinking about the road is never the same as taking the first step. You tell yourself you'll stop thinking after finding the answer, but the answer never feels complete. Confidence keeps moving further away, no matter how much you think. That's because certainty isn't something your brain can think its way into. The more you chase perfect answers, the more impossible they become. Overthinking doesn't always steal your peace first. Sometimes it steals your time. And while you're waiting for the perfect moment, life quietly keeps moving without you. Every minute spent chasing certainty is a minute you're not actually living. The longer you wait for the perfect decision, the harder it becomes to make any decision at all. Your mind promises clarity, but keeps asking for just one more answer. That promise never ends, because certainty keeps moving further away. The hardest part isn't making mistakes, it's never giving yourself the chance to make one. While you're protecting yourself from failure, you're also protecting yourself from growth. Your brain isn't trying to make you miserable, it's trying to keep you safe. Long ago, expecting danger helped people survive. Your brain still carries that habit today. The problem is, modern life rarely rewards constant worry. Your brain can't always tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. That's why your heart reacts, even when your fears exist only inside your mind. Understanding your brain is the first step toward questioning it. Overthinking doesn't just steal your peace. It quietly steals your confidence. The more you question yourself, the less you trust your own judgment. Eventually, even simple choices begin to feel overwhelming. You don't lose because you made the wrong choice. You lose because you never allowed yourself to choose. Life rarely rewards perfect timing. It rewards consistent action. The goal isn't to stop every anxious thought. It's to stop letting every thought make your decisions. Here's the part most people never realize. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your mind creates thousands of thoughts every day, but it doesn't mean every one of them is right. Overthinkers don't believe every person they meet, yet they believe almost every thought they have. That's how one harmless thought quietly turns into hours of unnecessary worry. The loop survives because you keep feeding it with more attention. The moment you stop believing every thought, the loop begins to weaken. Your brain doesn't care if a thought is true, it cares if it might keep you safe. That's why scary thoughts always feel louder than peaceful ones. Your attention decides which thoughts grow and which ones disappear. Every thought you replay becomes easier for your brain to replay again. That's how overthinking slowly becomes a habit instead of a reaction. The good news, habits can be changed. Peace doesn't come from controlling every thought. It comes from choosing which thoughts deserve your attention. Freedom begins the moment you realize you don't have to answer every thought that enters your mind. Not every question deserves an answer. Some only disappear when you stop feeding them. Your thoughts may appear automatically, but your attention is still your choice. Peace isn't the absence of thoughts, it's no longer being controlled by them. The goal was never to think less. It was to fear your thoughts less. Most overthinkers aren't looking for answers anymore. They're looking for certainty. But certainty is one of the few things life almost never promises. Waiting until you feel completely sure often means waiting forever. Confidence usually comes after action, not before it. Your next step teaches you more than your next 100 thoughts ever will. Action doesn't erase uncertainty. It teaches you how to live with it. You don't have to silence every thought. You only have to stop obeying every one of them. Thoughts are visitors. They aren't permanent residents unless you invite them to stay. A thought can feel convincing without being true. The moment you question a thought, it loses some of its power. Awareness doesn't remove every anxious thought, but it keeps them from controlling your life. That quiet shift changes more than any perfect answer ever could. Overthinking was never your enemy. Believing every thought without questioning it was. The The mind was never designed to predict the future perfectly. It was designed to help you survive uncertainty. Every time you demand perfect certainty, you're asking your mind to do something it was never built to do. Maybe peace doesn't come from finding every answer. Maybe it comes from accepting that some answers arrive later. You don't need another 100 thoughts to move forward. You only need enough courage for the next step. The moment you stop chasing perfect certainty, you finally give yourself permission to live. Your thoughts will never completely disappear, but they don't have to decide how you live. You don't need to win every battle inside your mind to have peace. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is move forward without having every answer, because confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Every small step teaches your mind something overthinking never could. The life you've been imagining has always been waiting on the other side of your first step. The problem was never that you think too much. It was believing every thought without questioning it. Not every fear is a warning. Some are simply old habits repeating themselves. The quieter your mind becomes, the clearer your life becomes. Peace isn't found by controlling every thought. It's found by letting some of them go, and maybe that's where real freedom begins. Your mind will always create thoughts. Your freedom begins when you realize you don't have to follow every one of them. Your thoughts can shape your emotions, but they don't have to shape your future. Every step you take, despite uncertainty, teaches your mind that fear isn't always a stop sign. You don't become fearless by waiting. You become stronger every time you move anyway. Maybe the life you've been waiting for begins the moment you stop waiting for perfect certainty. Your mind will always create thoughts. Your freedom begins the moment you realize you don't have to follow every one of them. If you enjoy documentaries that help you understand yourself, consider subscribing. There's a lot more about the human mind we're going to explore together.